Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night, and we are live tonight, 8 o'clock, for episode 344 of the Ron and Brian podcast. Brian, are you showing off a Luigi Mangione t-shirt?
Damn right. I got it.
That is
ordered.
That is lovely. Absolutely lovely.
That's right. I rock in it. Let's free my man Luigi.
Very nice. I gotta say, I'm unhappy with the music that they switched that countdown timer to on StreamYard. I don't know why. I've given it a few weeks, and I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with the change.
But Ron, you are a champion. Has it occurred to you at any point to zip off a strongly worded memorandum from the podcast? I do, if I am correct, a little bit over a year ago, our official letterhead was finally embossed on some nice quality stock paper. I mean, have it occurred to you to send off a missive over to the fine folks at StreamYard saying, not my intro music, give me back something that slaps?
I'm a busy man, Brian. I will see if I can. I'll see if I can get around to doing that this week. Good question, right off the bat from JoJo. On a scale from 99 to 100, how much trouble did you get into for getting yet another T-shirt?
Honestly, it really wasn't that bad. The mistake I made, obviously, let's be brutally honest, I can't pull off anything, which is why people cheat, people, hide, I can't. I don't have that ability. I left the receipt on the table. Like the church came in, and I opened it when she was in the other room, and I hid them in my closet. I was just like, I'll take it out for the podcast. She won't notice it. And then she goes. Then about 10 minutes afterwards, she comes up. She's like, "What shirts did you get?" I'm like, oh, "What? What do you? What?" And she's like, "Yeah, it says right here, 2 shirts." So,
100% rookie move. JoJo calls it rookie move.
We're talking about me, people. This is what's to be expected. 49%. Whatever. People, they're coming after me. People coming after me. Right. Ron, more importantly, champ, how are you doing? How are you doing?
I am doing good today. Had my birthday on Friday. Turned 54, if you can believe it.
Correct. And if I can interrupt you briefly,
of course,
so we did receive some telegrams. Not every leader of the free world understands. Well, some of these are not from the free world, unfortunately.
Okay.
Some of the world leaders sent telegrams to us, which I would like to be reading throughout this episode. Wishing you a happy birthday.
Do you have one that you can start off with, just to give us an idea as to the level of what you would say?
Sure.
Feeding.
I mean, we're going to start with Turkey. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. My pronunciation, I apologize. Here it goes. Hold up a piece of paper so I can read it. To my esteemed colleague in the area adjacent to Philadelphia in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, another year has passed. May your grip on power remain as firm as ever and your enemies as plentiful. May your decrees be obeyed with the appropriate level of fear and your celebrations be suitably grand. Remember, true strength lies not in popularity, but in unwavering control. Here's to another year of blessed stability. That is from Turkey's President Erdogan, not really a very popular man in the democratic world, but he sees potential in you, Ron, and he just zipped off a telegram. So I guess these are the people, the kind of people that you are just swinging around with.
All right. Dom, also, he and I both 54. Both of us handsome men. Dom's a little bit more. Listen, Dom, I feel comfortable enough in my masculinity saying Dom's a handsome man.
Dom is a handsome man. Has a few gray hairs more than you do, Ron.
all right. He on him it looks good. There are some individuals who gray hair doesn't always suit, but him that works without a doubt. All right, let's get into it. What do we do? What do we start this off with, Brian?
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Pleasure.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
I mean, I will say 54 and still able to carry this beautiful 6 pounds of gold around behind me. Brian, what did you bring for your drink of the week this week?
My drink of the week, we went all the way up to Westbrook, Maine. There is a microbrewery called Mast Landing Brewing. This is their PB&J Gunner's Daughter. It's masterfully blending flavors of peanut butter and sweet raspberry jelly interlaced in a rich and roasty goodness of their flagship milk stout, PB&J Gunner's Daughter. This delivers a nostalgic yet complex drinking experience like no others. Coming in at 5.5% ABV, this is my drink of the week.
All right, take a sip. I'm always curious how the PB&J, which ends up being kind of the dominant flavor. I find they never get the mix just right. What do you think, Brian?
Very heavy on the raspberry.
Okay.
I'm not complaining. The peanut butter is very subtle in the mix here.
Okay.
But it's got a nice sweetness to it from the raspberry. So I'm going to say this is definitely another drinkable beer. Congratulations.
What's the alcohol content on that?
5.5.
Not bad for a stout. Not bad at all.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I'm enjoying this.
All right.
Here it is. It's the PB&J Gunner's Daughter from Mast Landing Brewing Company. Yes, it is crushable, Janelle, meaning after my second one, I'll be slurring my words during After Dark.
All right.
Ron, what do you bring to the table this year, drink-wise?
So I bring a very special beer. I had a chance, as I was telling you earlier, Brian, I had a chance to spend some time at a Flyers game earlier with John and Matt from the Jardy clan. We went to a brewery afterwards. Marty Jardy, our moderator, stopped by to give me my birthday present, and included in that was a 4-pack from Imprint Brewing. This is their wallpaper pills. It is a Aloha Mosaic dry hopped Imperial Pilsner, clocking in at 6.2%.
What?
But look at that. That is a beautiful looking beer right there. A little hoppy on the nose, a little hoppier than you expect from a Pilsner.
Right.
Oh, that's good. It's crisp
and
hoppy, but a great flavor. And I put this in the freezer because I just got back home a little while ago.
Sure.
It's ice cold. It is the perfect temperature for it.
You know, Ron, while you take that next sip, Jojo brings up an excellent point. Are you taking gifts from the person that you single-handedly allowed to be the moderator of our most recent podcast debate?
How did I single-handedly allow her?
Is this a quid pro quo where you let her be the moderator so that she gets plenty of airtime, and then in return she gives you free beer? Is that what's going on here?
It is not, and as I've said, Brian, if you would like to play that card, you can always ring her up and let her know that she's not able to be moderator for next year's debate. Better yet, I would encourage you to do that in person.
I'm a little afraid of her. I don't know about that.
Listen, we all are.
All
right. Well, let's keep things moving along here. It's time for Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
I'll tell you what's bothering me this week, Ron. Dry eyes. I've got dry eyes, and
really?
Diagnosed earlier this week. I thought I was getting old, and my eyesight was going. Last couple of months, probably over the course of the past year, I've noticed that it has become more and more difficult for me to read small fine print. Early in the morning, good luck looking at my phone. Literally,
Right.
it is, me doing, while I'm having my coffee. And I just use takes a while for my eyes to get used to being awake, as if they're sleeping. Like they're a
Right.
separate entity other than me.
As if, your eyes need a few more years to get used to your body.
Sure. And I also noticed that lately I've had to increase the brightness on my monitors at work, also laptops. I've
I
done
need
it
some
like,
music in my monitors. Music in my monitors. Sorry, go ahead.
Give me some bass. Let it roll. So I went in for my twice annual eye exam as as somebody with glaucoma in my family history. They
Right.
like to see me every 6 months to see how the eye pressure goes.
I want to check
By
on
the
it.
way, I'm assuming you've had your eyes checked recently or fairly recently.
It was probably within the last year because when I got
Perfect.
glasses, I got my eyes checked.
That test where they put that little blue circular thing and it just like it goes right into your eyeball that they're testing the eye pressure for. Do you get that one or no? Tell me
Is that
you
where they
do.
do
'Cause
like
it's
the little
not,
puff of air into your eye?
yes.
Yeah.
Not good. I blink like a little bitch. Just like a little bitch. Like I'm sitting there and I'm like, and the doctor literally has to hold my eyeball open. Here, people, that's what it looks like. It literally has to hold it open. They've actually had to have like his assistant hold the eyeball open so he does a little burst of air. I don't tell you, like, not a fan of it. So I thought I was going to need some kind of surgery or have to go back to classes and whatnot. He said, no, we believe this is dry eyes. Just start using some artificial tears. I forgot the brand name of it or whatnot, but they told me to start doing that and that I should see an improvement. So what's
And
bothering me?
Have you gone to get the to pick those up?
They're sitting in my bag at work. I've not tried it yet.
All right. Is this what you looked like at the eye doctor? Was it a little Clockwork Orange situation where they just held your eyes open?
Now, this man, I'm assuming this is a man. This man looks very confident. He does not look like he's being a little bitch. Whereas this gentleman on this side of the screen, literally, it's not fun.
Understood.
It's not fun. So dry eyes, that's what's bothering me. Ron.
Yes.
Ron.
Yes, my friend.
What's bothering you?
So my beef this week is with Terminal D at the Philadelphia International Airport. We have 6 terminals, A through F at the airport. A through C are your bigger planes, and then D through F are your mid-size and smaller. Never flown out of D terminal before. I fly out of Terminal F a lot because those are the regional flights. And Terminal F used to be the worst terminal. There was nothing to do once you got to that terminal. It's not connected to the rest of the airport. Like you have to literally hop on a shuttle bus to go to other terminals. Well, they redid it a couple of years ago, so you actually have like restaurants, shops, like things to do.
Yep.
I get to Terminal D and I get there, way too early for a local, flight just going to Boston. I get there like 2 hours early. Go into the terminal, nothing. Like the only thing I found at the very end of the terminal was a Dunkin' Donuts so I could get a cup of coffee, but there really wasn't anything to do except just kind of sit and stare out the window for 2 hours. It's like, pick up your game, Philadelphia.
Sure, of course.
That's all I'm saying.
Listen, Philadelphia, I'm surprised that you're complaining about the infrastructure of Philadelphia. Though I would have to say that I'm very surprised and frankly a little disappointed, Ron, that you're not one of those people that pays extra for the lounge access at the airport.
And to be honest, now that you mention it, well, I was flying JetBlue this time.
Sure.
First time I've flown JetBlue. I don't know that they have any lounges in Terminal D. Now that you mention it, I don't recall seeing any there.
I've never heard of JetBlue with a lounge, but I know there are services where you can sign up and get access to different lounges in airports. Though I would also have to say that I imagine that in the airport lounge in Philadelphia, it's just everybody on the wait staff is dressed like Gritty.
Maybe in some of the other
Yeah.
ones. I will say another annoying thing. I get my boarding pass for JetBlue. It tells me I'm flying out of Terminal D. So I take the train down. I hop off at Terminal D, go in because I got to check a bag, go down to ticketing. No JetBlue, anything. So I go to somebody there. I'm like, where is the JetBlue counter? They're like, oh, that's down in Terminal E. All right, so I'll be an asshole and I'll walk down to Terminal E and I will check my bag and then I'll walk back to Terminal D for my gate.
Well, especially when you show up 2 hours early, I imagine you had plenty of time.
Yeah. And like their big selling point is like the TVs they have in the headrest. Guess the only 2 TVs on the flight that weren't working, guess where they were? My seat and the guy next to me.
Yeah. How crowded? Could you have moved?
No, it was actually a pretty full flight.
So people flying from
it's 45 minutes and it's like $150. Cheaper than driving it or taking a flight or anything else.
See, I would have done. I know I know you were going to another destination afterwards. I'm a fan of the Amtrak. I'm a fan.
Believe me, if I had the time, yes, I love the train ride from Philly up to Boston, but it's like even that's still like 5 hours. I had a little quick turnaround, so I needed that flight.
Interesting. Very good. Very good. Ron, I would also like to take a moment to thank Ali Hosseini Khamenei, the Iranian cleric and politician who has served as the second supreme leader of Iran since 1989. And he sent you a telegram, said, wishing you another year of continued unbridled leadership on this special day, the anniversary of your birth. May your authority over the podcast domain remain unquestioned and your unquestioned influence stay far-reaching. May your celebrations be suitably impressive. May your enemies know nothing but pain, defeat, and everything else. All your decisions, may they be decisive. Here's to another year of the two of us ruling like assholes. That's Ali Home. I'm surprised he would use such language at the end.
That's I wasn't expecting that, I gotta say.
A strict Muslim cleric. I'll say it again. Ali Hosseini Khamenei, just using the AH curse. Very shocking. A little disappointed.
Doesn't seem to mirror how strict they are over there with language and everything else.
He may think that, because this podcast, despite being global on YouTube, he may think that it's not really going to transfer much into the Iranian popular culture.
Right. Maybe. Listen, our numbers in the Middle East are at record lows. So
they're lagging.
To that.
Well, I think that's because we insist on showing all photos of women where you can see like everything below the neck.
Right.
I mean,
we have gotten letters from Iran that they respect your neckline, but I agree that, it's probably the other photos where
this is kind of a loose neckline if you look really closely.
Yeah, you're showing a little skin tonight. Brian, let's get into our stories of the week. As the listeners that have listened for the past 2,873 episodes, we make sure we grab a couple of stories that we want to make sure we don't miss and bring them to the table. Brian, what is your story of the week this week?
My story of the week goes, it takes us to Jacksonville, Florida, and it leads me to ask you the question of this, Ron. Ron, when you walked into a classroom and there was a substitute teacher at the front of the room, was this something that would make you happy or sad?
Oh, it make you incredibly happy. You knew that it was going to be just semi-controlled chaos. There was probably going to be a movie, but there wasn't going to be any education going on.
Speaking of a lack of education, do you have a photo? Can you please show us a photo of Florida substitute teacher Janine White, who is a substitute at the YMCA Tiger Academy in Jacksonville? Well, she is facing charges related to a February 12th incident in which she asked and encouraged 4 students to take turns hitting and kicking one of their co-students. The victimized elementary school student supposedly ignored a request from White to split up into small groups to conduct schoolwork. I mean, we all know, like you said, with the substitute, there's no schoolwork.
Right.
Enraging Janine White to the point where she said aloud, "Who in here can beat this kid up?" She asked the entire class. 4 children immediately raised their hands because, let's be brutally honest, if your substitute teacher says, "Hey, anybody want to jump this kid?" Would you raise your hand and do this and jump in, or would you sit there and be like, "Oh no, the hate has no place here"?
I'm a lover, not a fighter, Brian. I think you know this by now. But I
Well,
can certainly see if it was a disruption in my learning day, then maybe we might have to trade hands. I'm not sure.
Janine White, she was able to, ironically, not White, she found 4 students, one by one, to pummel the victim inside the Florida classroom. After the 4 successive attacks took place, she then pushed the victim to the ground, causing him to hit his head on a desk. She is currently not teaching and is facing charges of child abuse and 4 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. So what I'm saying is, if there's anybody who is watching this that's a student, if this woman stands at the front of the class when you show up for school, just do what she says. It's not worth taking a beating for.
I mean, I'm kind of torn by this story. I agree.
Why?
I don't think she should have put her hands on the child. But, if the kid is disrespecting the classroom, I think her just asking if the kid's his age. I mean, listen, if he can't defend himself, that's on him.
Sure.
Don't talk shit, get hit. That's how it goes sometimes, Brian.
Wow, that's rough. No sympathy from you.
Not today, my friend.
All right. Okay.
All right.
What's your story of the week?
My story, our good friends down in Texas, Brian, we had a story last week or the week before talking about the measles outbreak and how we had our first child pass away from measles in Texas. Well, now, apparently, the state of Texas, specifically Ron Cook, the chief health officer at the Texas Tech University Health Center in Lubbock, Texas, did a press briefing last week to tell the residents of Texas to not have any measles parties. Are you aware of what a measles party would be, Brian?
Not at all.
Let me ask you this. When you were a kid, did your parents ever have a chicken pox party?
No, they didn't have chicken pox, but I did get chicken pox.
All right. So there used to be these things when we were younger where if a kid got chicken pox, the parents would bring their kids around the kids that had chicken pox. So everyone would get chicken pox and they'd get the immunity. So now, even though this has not been reported as having happened yet, there are reports of West Texas parents discussing the possibility of measles parties on social media. Cook is saying, do not do this because there are a number of complications with measles that could put a child's life in danger. The much safer option is to just get vaccinated, get that MMR vaccine that most of us receive when we are children. Do not have a measles party. Yes, if your child survives, they will have a immunity to measles at that point, but it could also kill them, could create brain damage, could stunt their growth, number of things. Measles, not good. Chickenpox, uncomfortable. Odds are it won't kill you. Measles, a little bit more.
Weren't Southern parents also doing COVID parties during the pandemic? Weren't there stories of parents if one of the kids came down with COVID, they would round up their kids to all go visit this kid, so this way they could all get sick and develop the antibodies?
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
they are.
You are not correct.
You are correct. They are not known about being the sharpest tools in the shed.
Sure.
But ideally, if they cannot damage or destroy their kids' lives or end their kids' lives, that'd be a plus. Let's stick in Texas for a while, Brian, because we had a few stories that popped up about Texas.
Sure.
First, there was a new study that found that Texas is a lucrative spot for payday lenders. Are you familiar with these
Oh.
lenders, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who works in HR, I am constantly suggesting to some of my underpaid employees that instead of waiting for their paycheck to come every other Friday, what they should do is, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, no, I'm familiar with them. What they are, it's financial institutions that basically say, give us your employment information, have your paycheck be direct deposited into our account, and in return, we'll give you your money now, but we are going to give you 80% of your money. We'll give you 72% of your money. We'll keep the difference. A great racket.
So in 2022, borrowers across the nation paid $2.4 billion in fees across the country.
Unbelievable.
In Texas, more than half of those fees, $1.3 billion, were paid. So you had 49 states making up $1.1 billion, and
Jesus.
then one state, Texas, who were paid the $1.3 billion. Apparently, this has been an issue for a long time by consumer advocates in Texas. They feel that payday lenders are exploiting people, and
Sure.
Texas has no cap on payday lending, which means that the lenders can charge whatever fees they want. They do not cap the maximum interest rate that can be charged on any type of loan. So listen to this. There was a average single installment $500 payday loan issued in Texas. It was issued for a 20-day term, and it carried an APR of more than 500%. So that means people who borrowed money on average paid $140 in fees on top of the $500 repayment.
Jesus, that is depressing.
Almost. You almost feel bad for people. Almost.
Well, you almost want to feel bad for people in Texas.
Almost. A smidge. But would you like to know what the Texas lieutenant governor is focused on, Brian?
I'm going to say the border.
Not exactly. He is concerned over the New York strip steak. Yes, that's right. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said that he is going to propose renaming the cut Texas Strip, ignoring the fact that the reason it was named New York Strip is due to Delmonico's restaurant based in New York. But apparently, because Texas produces so much beef, much like the Gulf of America,
Sure.
he wants to rename New York strip steaks after Texas. Brian, you're a proud former New Yorker. What are your thoughts on this?
A, don't care. B, it's just utterly silly that we have gotten to a point where there are true issues going on in this country, and the priority of our politicians is semantics. It's just fucking depressing. We've got Doge that's stealing all of our personal data, being run by 23-year-old children who don't understand that the Enola Gay airplane is not a advertisement for homosexuality. It's just fucking.
I wish
ludicrous.
that was false. I wish that was a joke you were making.
But it's true.
But apparently they tried
true.
to wipe all history of the.
No, they did wipe it. They
did
wipe it, and then people pointed out, and then they put it back. It's just so sad and pathetic.
One more story.
That's my take on the New York Strip versus the Texas Strip. Just stupid.
All right. Next, we're going to go to Travis Intermediate School in Greenville, Texas, where apparently several of the students in a class there decided to share a needle and give themselves tattoos. Ashley Armstrong is the parent of an 11-year-old boy who has either given himself or was given a friend a pair of tattoos that read, "I heart my Lord" on his arm and JC on his hand. This is a kid that loves himself some Jesus. Speaking to a local Fox affiliate, Armstrong said, quote, "The needle was shared several times from one class to another class to another class. How is it that these kids are getting tattoos in class and not one teacher noticed it?" Excellent question.
Well, it's probably because Janine White was their teacher that day.
So all the kids involved have undergone blood tests to detect any illnesses they may have contracted. However, parents are still concerned about any long-term health consequences. I would imagine, though, if you are a parent and you are concerned about long-term health consequences, wouldn't you move your family out of the state of Texas?
You would think so, but not everybody has that sense. Not everybody's got common sense.
Not everybody. Brian, I know we started what we thought might be a reoccurring segment last week. Do you have a news quiz for me to take again this week?
Ron, I prepared a news quiz, but it is so much more important to you that I read this telegram from Hibatullah Akhundzaza, the Taliban supreme leader who has ruled Afghanistan since 2021. Once again, this is a telegram sent by Hibatullah Akhundzada.
Nailing the names tonight.
Just nailing it. To my dearest friend, Ron from the Ron and Brian podcast, you are a leader of undeniable strength and unquestionable ruthless power. May your birthday be a testament to your enduring 51% influence over your podcast universe. May this celebration of your birth be marked by unwavering resolve, and may your vision continue to shape the course of all podcast events. If you are able to round up your enemies, summarily execute them, and dump their bodies in Tora Bora. Now that's from Hibatullah Akhundzada, the Taliban supreme leader. I mean, so far, Ron, I don't know how you're feeling about this, but the leader of Turkey, Iran, and Afghanistan from the Taliban is calling you their dear friend. I'm not sure how you're feeling about this is the company that you keep, but apparently amongst the ruthless dictators of this planet, they all sought to set aside and to honor your birthday. I don't know how you're feeling about it. I'm a little nervous.
I mean, I will argue this isn't the company I keep. I have no control over who might reach out and wish me a happy birthday. These are not people I communicate with frequently. But again, you might hate the messenger, but love the message.
All right. Interesting. Ron, may I ask you a question?
Of course you may.
What are you watching?
What am I watching? We attempted to watch the new Charles Manson documentary on Netflix. It's like an hour and a half. You watched it. What was your take on it? I did not get through the entire thing.
I ask you, first off, tell me your experience, and then I'll tell you mine, because I read the book. So
all right.
I can go on forever. But as somebody who is not familiar with Chaos by the author Tom O'Neill, please walk me through.
I mean, I will say this:
casual Charles Manson.
I don't know if I'm a casual Charles Manson fan. I
You
read Helter Skelter. I've read a lot on this subject.
Ron, we know you have a back tattoo of Charles Manson. It starts pretty much over here, goes all the way down to there. The words, pigs, death to pigs is underneath, in blood, your blood, that is. But what were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was very slow. I thought it was a little drawn out. I don't know that there was any. I mean, again, in the half of it that I watched, I don't know that there was a ton of new information. Also, it was kind of weird where they hypothesized in the beginning, the first section of it, that Charles Manson may have been involved in the MK Ultra testing, but then had no backup.
Very much so. This was the problem. It's not that there's no backup for it. It is are you all right? Because it looks like you're dying over there. What?
I'm sneezing a little bit. Don't mind me.
Oh, sneezing. I thought you said you were bleeding a little bit. And I was like, stop cutting your penis. This is a thing. As somebody who read the book and was excited about it and was really looking forward to this movie, there is so much information that is in Chaos. So many interviews that the author Tom O'Neill went out. So many people that he spoke to. So much information that he gets. Where there is there's no smoking gun, as you would like to call it, Ron. I know you're from Philadelphia. You're Philadelphia adjacent, excuse me. So you're always looking for smoking guns. But you're not looking for Quaaludes in the ladies' drinks, apparently. Not down there in Montgomery County or whichever county you are.
You got it right.
This
Don't
is the
worry.
problem. This is the problem I had. And apparently the author also is not too happy. This is a documentary made by a third party. This isn't Netflix with a producer making a documentary with the author Tom O'Neill.
Right.
This is a documentarian, Errol Morris, I believe is his name. And he puts his choice of what he wants to spend time on. So it's not as if like there was any type of editorial approval by Tom O'Neill. You know, we've complained, as you can see, I'm excited by this. We've complained so much. I watched it last night. My lady slept right on the couch, missed the entire hour. And like, there's the thing. We talk about how everything on Netflix is like dragged out to a 4-hour, 6-hour. I feel like here was something where the subject matter was worthy of a 4-hour treatment, and they give it 90 minutes. Excuse me, 96 to be exact. There's no way that you can concisely concentrate all the information that's in this book from the research that this author put together and say, oh, this is the story of chaos. What they kind of took some information and kind of put it all together. Obviously, the guy gets a nice paycheck. Good for him. Now, is there established records that the CIA and the different psychiatric schools that they were working through were using prisoners throughout the United States for mind control tests? Absolutely. I do not believe that that's something that you can argue anymore.
Right.
Is there specific proof that Charles Manson was involved? No. However, there's a lot of questions that when added to other questions, when added to others, say, hey, this doesn't make sense. One of the pieces that they also touched very lightly on was, and which is very significant in the book, is here's a guy who spent most of his first 20, 25 years on this earth, living in America, in the South, in and out of prisons, in and out of jails, is constantly getting arrested, doing prison terms, armed robberies, whatnot. He gets out on parole and literally just moves to the San Francisco area without, seemingly where other prisoners from Georgia, might have been Alabama, I could be wrong, would not have been given that approval. Why is this guy given the approval to go to San Francisco, where it is kind of the center of the hippie community in America, where he continues to commit crimes, but his parole officer, whose office also happens to be in the same building as a established psychiatrist who worked with the CIA on MK Ultra, same building. Why did his parole officer submit letters saying that Charlie Manson was a model parolee when this guy's getting arrested left and right? It doesn't make sense. So there's so much in that book, Chaos. I highly recommend people read it.
All right, I will. I'll have to read the book because I did think there was definitely some questions that were raised, like just right off the bat when he was, prior to the murders, when he was released on parole from prison, and then just decides to move in California, move out of where he should have been staying. Like he seemed to have all these parole violations and never ended up going back to prison.
What I just talked about, Ron.
Right. That's why I'm agreeing.
That was one of the things where they said, if you go back to COINTELPRO, which was the FBI program, they were trying to prioritize taking down the hippie culture that was becoming very popular, which was anti-government, anti-war in Vietnam, while at the same time figuring out a way where Hollywood elites who were becoming very liberal, very anti-government. So it's very coincidental and a little convenient that Manson decides to go take his hippie cult and go kill some Hollywood elite. It's convenient, a little too convenient, but like one of the important things from this, from Chaos, the book, and this documentary is he doesn't fabricate anything that's not there. He openly says throughout the book, there's no smoking gun here, but there's too many questions for us to pretend that there's not something here. He doesn't say I have proof that he was that Manson was in MK Ultra. He has no proof that COINTELPRO, the FBI, said, "Hey, focus on this guy Manson, get him to kill people." There's no proof of that. However, there's just too many convenient truths that don't add up to a world of law and order. Boom.
Well, there's certainly, from what I saw, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence and a lot of connections that do make you wonder what else may have been going on there.
And I read earlier today that Tom O'Neill, the author of is not happy with this documentary. It's just he just felt like too much important information was left out. What else did you watch, Ron?
Started watching The Pit, the medical drama on HBO Max, starring Noah Wiley, because I believe all he can do are medical drama shows. Sure. It's interesting. So each episode is an hour of this day taking place in an ER in, I want to say, Chicago area.
Pittsburgh. Hence the name The Pit.
What is interesting about it is, since it is on Max, they can show more. I think the first episode has a woman that comes in with a degloved foot. As we have often said, we'd love anything that's degloved. So you get to actually see that. And then the language is a little bit more what you would consider realistic in an ER versus, a toned down standard TV show.
Sure. Interesting.
What about you, Brian? What are you watching besides the Manson documentary?
I watched Andrew Schultz's new Hour last night on Netflix. Lady fell asleep about 8:15, so I had the TV all to myself for about 4 hours.
That's called Life, right? That's the name of it?
Life. Yes. I watched one UFC fight that I put a $10 bonus bet on, lost it, and just turned it off because I did not want to watch any more UFC. It was depressing. So I watched Chaos, then I watched Andrew Schultz's special. It's all about the struggles he and his wife went through to conceive a child, which is ironic considering that he is this. How do you want to? I don't know. You want to call him like a neo-right comedian, but he's like, it showed a level of sensitivity that you would normally not expect from one of these right-wing comedians. Or people that have embraced the right.
He's not known to be overly touchy-feely in his act, or
even correct. But
being interviewed or anything along those lines.
But he's talking about the difficulties that they had, the tests that he and his wife each had to go through, the different rounds of IVF injections and whatnot, things that his wife had to go through physically, biologically, to start producing eggs, so that they could conceive. Obviously, spoiler alert, they conceive a child. But it was a delicate subject matter that I felt that he handled very well. I don't know that I would say that I laughed.
Okay.
It was an entertaining, but if you're in the mood to laugh, I would not put that on. I don't think I laughed at all during it. But I thought it was, he tells his story very well. It's not a lot of racial humor, which I think he's known for, or a lot of macho jokes or whatnot. But I watched that. And then also season 2 of Severance is winding down. This past Friday, we got episode 8. If you're not on the Severance train, we cannot talk. Also, White Lotus season 3. I think we just had episode tonight. We're recording this live Sunday night. I believe episode 4 comes out. So far, I'm waiting for something to happen. These seasons are few and far between. They've got maybe 10, 12 episodes. They've wasted 3. with character setup. Not really sure where it's going. It's not really grabbing my attention.
Yeah, so we got through, I think we finished episode 2 or maybe 3. To your point, like, I think episode 1 really did a good job of setting up the characters,
Sure.
but that's all they've done the last couple of episodes is continue to build
Correct.
up these characters and give you little snippets of storylines.
Yeah.
I mean, Walter Goggins is fantastic as always. Like,
Very good.
always great in whatever he does. But yeah, it's one of those where, like, other than Severance, the exact opposite. Like, you are getting exposition
Sure.
every single episode.
Sure.
It is moving the story forward. Like, I think the knock we both had with season 1 was it was interesting, but you really didn't learn a lot, and you
Correct.
were left with a lot of questions. They're really hitting you with a lot of information this
Ooh,
season.
yes.
I'm not as far
Yeah.
along as you are, but I'm enjoying the season of Severance tremendously.
How far are you along, if I may ask?
I think we just finished episode 3.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to say this to you, just to tell you like how hooked I am on Severance, that for the past, I would say month and a half, it is my Friday night activity.
All
like
right.
I will stay off of TikTok on Fridays because I do not want any spoilers about what happened in that episode. Friday, come home, have dinner with my lady, and then I watch Severance. This week, I even went back and rewatched episode 7 before I watched episode 8. Like, I am enjoying it that much. It's so, to me, it's reached that point of peak TV. Just to tell you how far I have nerded out on it, I now have started to listen to the Severance podcast.
Ooh, wow.
With Ben Stiller and Adam Scott, where they every Friday they come out with a new episode where they break down every each new episode. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Janelle, great question here.
Asking if I started watching the new Daredevil Born Again, I think is the name of the series.
Sure.
I need to start watching it. I know the first 2 episodes dropped. Loved the original that they did on Disney TV a few years back. Just hyper violent, but in a good way. Like, great storyline, great acting. Vincent D'Onofrio, I can watch him in anything. I mean, he's just a genius actor. But yeah, I do need to hop on to Disney Plus and watch the first couple episodes. I've heard that it's not. I've heard that it's good. I've heard it's not as good as the previous series. But even still, I have a feeling. Oh, she is saying. Janelle says the first 2 episodes are fantastic. I have to go check them out.
There you go.
There you have it. There it is.
Ron, speaking of there it is, what are your thoughts about Haji Wadula?
I'm afraid I don't know who that is. Maybe you can enlighten me.
Apparently, he knows who you are. He is the Sultan of Brunei, who has ruthlessly held a grip of control over the country of Brunei since 1967. And he sends this telegram to celebrate your birthday. My fair Ron, may your day be marked by the same unquestionable resolve you demonstrate in all your endeavors, including your ability to hold all podcast merch income without sharing with your partner. The spoils of brilliance are yours alone, just as the spoils of my country belong to me. May your influence continue to shape the world around you, and may your decisions be as impactful as ever. Haji Wadula, from the Sultan of Brunei. Ron, another ruthless dictator reaching out to wish you a happy birthday. How does it feel? I mean, it's got to be overwhelming. All these world leaders.
Listen, anytime someone takes time out of their day to recognize my birthday, it's a blessing. That's all I can say.
There you go. Very good.
Well, let me ask you something. Do you know who Brian Sigmund is? Or excuse me, Brad Sigmund.
Brad Sigmund. No, I could not tell you who he is.
All right. Well, he is this gentleman right here, and he is a convicted double murderer. He is set to die by firing squad in South Carolina this Friday. The first execution of its kind in the United States in 15 years. He personally requested this punishment after fearing the electric chair would, quote, burn and cook him alive. He also rejected a lethal injection after 3 previous inmates took more than 20 minutes to die after receiving the fatal dose of phenobarbital. So he has chosen the firing squad. He will be strapped to a chair, have a hood placed over his head, and a target placed over his heart in the death chamber. 3 volunteers will then fire at him through a small opening about 15 feet away. He was convicted back in 2001 of killing his ex-girlfriend, Rebecca Barber's parents at their home in Greenville County with a baseball bat. He had been smoking crack cocaine and drinking on the night of the killing when he told a friend he would, quote, get Becky for leaving him the way that she did.
Oh, Becky with the good hair. Ron, I would like to, there's an update to the story, which is that he was executed by the good
was it this
people
past
over.
Friday? I thought it
was
was upcoming Friday.
No, it was this past Sunday. He was executed. The victim's brother was a witness for the execution. There, I watched video yesterday morning of him speaking to the press about the execution. Question for you, as I know somebody, too often these ruthless dictators get taken down by the people when they stand up and demand freedom. When you are taken down by the podcast fans, would you vote for to be shot by firing squad, or would you want the electric chair, or would you want the intravenous injection?
I might go lethal injection. As Joe picked up, sorry, not phenobarbital, pentobarbital is what they use for the lethal injection.
I believe phenobarbital is something that Bill Cosby was giving to his lady friends back in the late 70s in his home in adjacent Philadelphia.
But look at this, Brian. This is the setup of how the firing squad goes down. They strap him into the chair, hold the head, strap the legs. I guess there are those sandbags in case. Now, if you're firing from 15 feet away and you can't hit a target, maybe you shouldn't be firing the gun.
I'm not a marksman. At 15 feet, I'm going to hit the guy. I guarantee you, I might get him in the kneecap. I'm not going to lie, but like I'm hitting the body. I'm not going that far off. The 2 feet away, I need some sandbags. That's weird.
I mean, let me ask you this, because you have mentioned, previously the things that, you could help somebody dispose of a body. You wouldn't turn them in. Could you be one of the 3 individuals firing the fatal shots on a firing squad?
Absolutely. And to the point, and obviously I've never done it, so I can't speak from experience, but I do not understand the sensitivity to guilt that these execution systems have built into it. I know that in certain states where they do the lethal injection, they have multiple people injecting syringes. Some are, what's the word, where there's absolutely nothing. It's a placebo. Some are literally just pushing in sugar water because they want there to be a deniability amongst the executioners that they're not sure if they're the ones that did or not. I don't think that if there's a guy up there who's been a convicted murderer, that I'm going to lose any sleep over shooting this guy. I might try. I might set off 2 bullets if I have the opportunity to. Pew 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 pew.
Is that what a gun sounds like? Is that what you think a gun sounds like?
Listen, have you shot a gun? When was the last time you shot a gun? When was the last time?
We were in Vegas probably 6 or 7 years ago, and we went to one of the indoor firing ranges there. Okay,
well, I shot a rifle in a shotgun. February of 2020, so more recent than you. And I'm going to tell you something. My company, we did a one of those skeet shoots where it's like the little clay. Is that the clay shoots or whatever it's called? Yeah.
The bird.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm standing up there. My coworker's behind me. I've got a loaded shotgun with 2 bullets in there, and it dawns upon me that there is literally nothing stopping me. And I'm not making this up. I'm realizing there's nothing stopping me from turning around and just pulling the trigger. Like there's nothing stopping me. And it wigged me out on multiple occasions that somebody
Really?
would sit there and hand me a shotgun, hand me 2 shells. I would poop, poop. I would click, and then literally I was just like I didn't even joke it because it wasn't going to be funny. Yeah,
Right.
Joe is absolutely correct. But the thought popped in my head of there's absolutely nothing stopping me from doing it. Like there's a lot in this society that prevents
Well, I
me
would
from
hope your
doing things.
conscience would be what's stopping you from doing
That's
it.
exactly what stopped me was the fact that I did not want to go to jail for murder. And there's no way they would have
That's
been
true.
like,
Another good point. You'd be a sweaty mess. I mean, you could easily drop the shotgun and accidentally fire. I will say, I was a surprisingly good shot with hand grenades.
really,
The thing, my
really
favorite memory
interesting.
that going to the shooting range was, obviously you get the safety talk beforehand, and the guy
Sure.
who was going over everything was like, you keep the gun aimed towards the target, don't aim it
Correct.
anywhere else in this room. So my
Sure.
lovely bride was firing, and she got off a good shot. She hit a good spot on the target, and she started to turn around to me to say, wasn't that a great shot? Bringing the gun around with her. And the guy was literally standing right next to her, put his arm up like that, just automatically to block her
Yeah.
from moving the gun out of the
Yeah.
safe space. He was like,
Yeah.
didn't I say not to take the gun out? She was like,
Yeah.
my bad.
Sorry, run. It was a good shot. Run.
Good question. You didn't dislocate your shoulder when fire. I mean, there's a little bit of a recoil with a shotgun.
No, I'm not going to lie. Did I have a little yellow area like over here, like 4 or 5 days afterwards? Oh yeah, because that recoil really gets you. I would do it again in a heartbeat. And shockingly, I was not a good shot. I got worse as the day went on.
That I believe. Next up, Brian, we have a Colorado man, Brandon Robert Berg. We have a mugshot of him, missing a neck, it would appear, just all jowl, just going straight cheeks to shoulders. So he has been sentenced to 80 years in prison for sexually assaulting, abusing, and branding his teenage stepdaughter since she was 15, along with his wife, Rebecca. He is now trying to claim that he couldn't possibly have sexually abused his teenage stepdaughter because he is too fat and his genitals are too tiny. Oh, and he also says that he's secretly gay, meaning he'd be disinterested in the girl.
So why would he brand her?
That I don't know.
That is so bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, it was she was when the girl was found, she was covered in scars, including a 4-inch mark inflicted with a fork, as well as her mom and stepdad's shared initials branded onto her with a heated knife.
See, you just mentioned earlier, like, would I be willing to take part in an execution squad? I would do it for this man in a heartbeat and have
This guy, I think,
guilt.
has earned it.
Like,
yes.
Like
Here we
the
go.
question
Joe
is,
says, put Brian with a gun in a room with him.
Yeah, give me like 6 shots. I'll miss a few times, hit him in like the shoulder. I feel like he's got a lot of what sort of thinking of like built-in layers of protection before I start hitting internal organs.
You're probably going to need like a hollow point to get through a lot of the layers of fat.
I will even say, give me a 6-foot difference. I don't need 15 feet. Let me stand a little closer to this guy. And I'm hoping the 6 shot kills him. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like, this is a guy, if he were in that chair and you handed me a gun, without a heart, without even any hesitation.
I mean, I'm going to say there's some people that deserve it. I won't deny that.
And you know who else thinks that you deserve it, Ron?
Who's that, Brian? Please tell me.
Faustine Archange Tudera, who is the president of Central African Republic. The UN has put out a ranking. He is in the top 5 of the rulers who provide the least amount of freedom for his people. But Faustine decided to take a moment from his very, very busy life ruling the Central African Republic to send you a telegram on your birthday. And here it is. Wishing you a very happy birthday, my friend. Your unwavering leadership and ability to enforce your petty demands on your 49% co-owner and all your listeners continues to inspire strength and unity amongst strong world leaders. May this year bring you continued success in guiding your world towards prosperity. That was Faustine Archange Tudera. That actually was the least offensive of all the different birthday greetings so far.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess we're ending on somewhat a positive note with these telegrams.
Listen, you're a day older. You're a year older, but I'm going to say you are just as beautiful to me, Ron.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, I fear that the younger listeners to our podcast will have to Google what a telegram is, since I don't believe they've been sending messages like that for about 40 years now.
I'm perfectly okay with them Googling because they'll just use ChatGPT to figure out what a telegram is.
Can we talk about a follow-up on the death of Gene Hackman and his wife? Because
Hackman!
this story gets worse
Sadder.
and worse. The
Yeah,
more you
yeah.
hear it, I mean, they found
Yeah.
both of them deceased, one of their 3 dogs deceased. And so now what they are saying is that his wife, Betsy Arakawa, passed away first from hantavirus, which
Sure.
that's like an X-Files type virus. Like,
Sure.
doesn't that like it's bad? Like, what does it do to your insides? Doesn't it like liquefy your organs?
I'm going to wait for our medical expert, Jojo, to let us know what a hantavirus is.
So her last known interactions were on February 11th. She had a short email exchange with her massage therapist, then went to a Sprouts Farmers Market, CVS Pharmacy, and a dog food store before returning to her gated community around 5:15. Sorry, it is hantavirus, not the hantavirus.
Sorry.
Hanta.
Sorry about that.
Playoffs.
I barely know her. Sorry.
So she apparently passed away some point after that February 11th date. The last, apparently, according to Gene Hackman's pacemaker, he was alive for another week and then went into atrial fibrillation and then passed away. Their bodies were not discovered until February 26th.
Oh, that's so sad. That is so sad.
Like there are bad ways to die. I'm going to say that that's
Yeah.
probably up there. Because I mean,
Oh,
your
yeah.
wife, your caretaker, bad enough that she passes away, but then you're he's in advanced stages of dementia.
Sure.
I mean, again, probably starved to death over the week,
I'm sure.
not knowing what the hell was going on.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, he probably, like you just said, he probably had no idea what was going on. He probably just knew that his wife was missing. He probably saw her on the floor sleeping and just didn't think there was anything to worry about. Just a sad story. And the thing is, it's Gene Hackman. He's one of the greatest actors of not just our time, but of all time. And you just kind of sense, he deserved better than that.
Well, and being that age, I mean, his wife had been dead for 2 weeks. He was dead for a week. Like, who's checking in on these people? Like, no one.
Well, the thing that I've read was just the fact that over the the recent years, they really had pulled away from society. They were not seeing a lot of friends and whatnot. Obviously, with his advanced Alzheimer's, they were not socializing to the degree that they were. I've read several times people are reaching, saying they're reaching, the question of, where were his children? He apparently had 3 kids, and from what I read over the weekend was he did not have a good relationship with his children after he left. After he basically married this woman when he was a poor, a very poor New York actor, had 3 kids with her. She stuck around while he, put together a career. And then as he became super famous, he dumped her for a 30-year-old woman, almost 30 years his junior. So it was his children really didn't follow along with him and basically
kind of took that personally, is what you're saying?
Yeah, they saw the damage that it did to their mom. And and I also imagine as he was getting older and whatnot, his current wife probably closed off a lot of external people. She probably wasn't reaching out to his kids to be like, hey, by the
Blaming
way,
the
just want
woman,
you to know.
Brian. Blaming the woman. Why? Why can't we go through an episode without you talking bad about women?
Jesus, Ron, that is really hurtful. Anything else?
Well, we did a bunch of celebrity obituaries last week. We missed one that I wanted to go back and capture, and that is David Johansen passing away at the age of 75, frontman and last surviving member of the New York Dolls. And also, many people know him by his alter ego, Buster Poindexter, which he was big with in the 80s with Hot, Hot, Hot. Just honestly, Buster Poindexter, that album, one of my favorite albums of all time.
Sorry to hear that.
Are you a fan of the Buster Poindexter, Brian?
Not really. I like the New York Dolls. I think they've got a very important role in the punk scene, in the hardcore scene that started as a result of it. You know, from the loud rock, from the kind of rock and roll vibe of not following societal norms. And then Buster Poindexter just never resonated with me. I did like him in what was that movie?
Scrooge?
Charmed with Bill Murray. Yep, there you go. You know it.
Charmed, Scrooge, whatever.
That was
Speaking
close.
of Bill
That was
Murray,
close.
and I know this is a complete
Yeah.
tangent, have you seen Bill Murray on the latest episode of Hot Ones?
No.
Check it out. Very, very entertaining. Great stories. He's just, he's the guy that I wish got interviewed more, because he's got to have at this point in his career just fascinating stories. Like, it is fascinating for me to listen to what people have to go through to get him to work on projects.
Sure.
Like, he literally does not have a phone number. Like, you mail him a script, and if he likes it, he'll get back to you.
Really? I didn't know that.
Janelle said she saw it. I think Bill Murray is one of the, I feel, underrated comedic geniuses of our lifetime.
I'm not sure he's underrated. I feel he has got such a mass following. Has he? Is he? He's not seen as like the top 10 or whatnot. But the man is literally worshipped.
But I don't think he
All
has
right,
that
Ryan.
mainstream appeal that he deserves.
Okay.
Disagree
Just
with
like
me,
you. And that's where it's like with the people with dictators like yourself, it's never enough. You always
Never
want
enough
more.
adulation. That's
You
right.
always want more.
Always need more validation.
Pathetic.
You know what we need more of, Brian?
Patreon subscribers.
Exactly. You knew where I was going with this one. Folks, if you have enjoyed the last hour and 8 minutes of this podcast, we do another episode in about 22 minutes called After Dark. It is exclusive for our Patreon subscribers. If you join at the $10 a month level or higher, you get access to the live broadcast taking place later tonight. You just have to go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click in the upper right-hand corner to become a patron, and then give us your hard-earned money, and we will put that right back into the podcast.
Damn right.
We don't put a lot of money in our pocket from this show.
No,
it may
not
listen.
at all.
You look at our accoutrements behind us in both of our palatial estates, and you may say they're just in it for the money. But no, we're here for you, the people. I mean, I'm here for the title belt, but both of us are also here for you, the people.
I'm also here for the title belt, but I'm willing to wait the next 50 weeks. Is it 50 weeks? Correct?
It's
got like 50
probably
weeks.
closer to 48 weeks at this point. Probably about 11 months you're looking at right now.
Okay. All right. Listen, tick tock. Your stranglehold over that belt is getting shorter and shorter.
All right, Brian. Any other hurtful telegrams that you have sitting there before we get out of here?
I've got some more, but what's the point? I think that it's
why beat a dead horse, right?
Yeah, why
why go on and on and on and on a subject that you've already talked to death? Why? That would be so unlike you.
I've been known to do it every now and then.
I love you, my friend. I hope you understand.
Love you too, buddy. Happy birthday. I'm so glad that you had a good one.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us. Patreon folks, we will see you shortly. Everybody else, we will see you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again